Alright, ready? 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 You ready? All good?
Yeah. I don't understand why you're
What is up, Watch fam?
I'm Christian, the curator.
You guys make fun of me while you can't even do it.
It's facts.
Get out of your own way.
Facts.
What's up, guys? I'm Christian, the curator of the Theo Harris Watch fam. What's up? Boom Watch fam. That's something I used to say when I was in college. I don't really say it anymore.
Yeah.
This is Michael.
Yep. I'm also a big fan of the Day-Date and the Theo Harris watch shop. Jesus,
What is wrong with you? Guys, today we're talking about watches. We always do. We sit down, we talk for like 30 or 40 minutes about the news, about things that are going on. A lot of stuff is going on because the watch industry just had its like biggest fair just now in Switzerland. A lot of crazy stories, a lot of cool shit. Today's episode is sponsored by
Short Form, the world's best guide to non-fiction books, like superpowered book summaries.
I actually love these guys. We'll talk more about them later.
Yes.
But definitely a way to just become smarter and more well-rounded quickly.
Yep.
So, all right, sounds good. Let's get into... First up, what are you wearing? Which watch are you wearing?
I am wearing a JLC Reverso, the Grand Tie.
I love that watch.
Yeah, it's amazing. What about you?
I'm wearing my grandfather's old Seamaster. Beautiful, from the 50s. We released a whole video about it, or about my grandfather and stuff like that. 40 minutes or whatever of like a 86-year-old man or 83-year-old man. If I called him 86 to his face, he would smack me.
Yeah.
83-year-old man like reflecting like on life and on time, and like values, and it's really, really cool.
And you kind of see, like, he's the same guy always, but you kind of see the facade break towards the end for a little bit too.
Speaking of which, if any of you guys out there, like young or old, if you really young or old, either living in New Jersey / New York, or will come here. And if you think you have a really good, not story, it doesn't have to be a big narrative, but just if you let your guard down, put it this way, if you let your guard down and like talk about watches a little bit and life a little bit and just different shit, I don't care what you do or who you are, let us know because it could be cool.
Yeah.
But it's not just watch talk. It's life talk.
It's actually very much less about the watches, more about the life talk.
If we show up and start recording and you have your guard up, it's not going to be a good thing. I'm probably going to want to leave.
Yeah. So you're going to want to leave anyway.
Yeah. How about when I was shooting with my cousin? We were doing an interview with my cousin Joey.
Yeah. For
an Omega thing, and like as soon as he sat down, my cousin Joey's a great guy, but he tends to like have a really good like client-facing kind of demeanor, like kind of like almost indifferent, but like he's a handsome guy, so he like plays on how good-looking he is. So we sit down, and we were kind of running short on time. We had like an hour for the interview, and I was like, Joe, cut it out. We got to get real.
Cut it, Joe.
We got to get straight to the. Otherwise, we're never gonna get out of here.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, that's it.
Today we're looking at. You sent me actually this. Quote from IWC, which is interesting, but that ties into the Kodo from Grand Seiko. I could be saying it wrong. Kodo.
Yep, Kodo.
It is an incredible watch. It is a constant force tourbillon.
Yep.
Which we'll get into what that means, why that's so monumental, and really just, which we've talked about before, Grand Seiko's not playing any games.
No, Grand Seiko's not f***ing around.
The Moonswatch was obviously the biggest release of this year, but Grand Seiko was really kind of the one that just stomped on everybody all of a sudden, was like, oh, this thing, which they originally had a prototype, and a lot of people said it's impossible, it won't fit into a watch. They're like, what you said won't happen. And we have it for sale. Yeah, it's not like a concept piece anymore.
Exactly.
So we'll get into that.
IWC, Grand Seiko, a little watch collection.
From our friend Dylan, 15-year-old watch collector with a better collection than me.
We used to do like watch collection reviews, so we'll bring them back a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, today's episode. All right, let's get into IWC.
Yes.
So, again, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever this is released, it was Watches and Wonders. So, most major watch brands released their new watches for the year, IWC being one of them. And it's not just an opportunity to release your watches, but it's an opportunity to get messages across. And I don't think that most brands do a good job at that, nor do I know if IWC did getting message across. But the message itself, that was a quote from IWC's CEO, Chris Hare, or Ginger Hair. It was great, so I'll read it to you. So, we're an engineering brand. We do functional watchmaking. We're not
Maître d'art.
Maître d'art. Everyone's
Maître d'art?
Maître d'art, whatever, meaning like manufacturers of high like artistic horology. We are functional watchmaking. All of our watches have a functional historical background. So I'll start off with why I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then you can take the ball.
Sure.
So I think that's great because it's very clear messaging. It's very strong. It's very masculine. I like that.
Yeah.
It works with the brand. That is very. Keep in mind, I've criticized IWC on their messaging in the past. There was an entire commercial campaign all over billboards and all over digital space, and it was a photo of an IWC perpetual calendar
in World War II or something.
Yeah,
no, not the perpetual.
Yeah.
But
It was an apple. What is it? An apple a day keeps the doctor away, or something like that.
Yeah,
it was
something
the
like that.
Silliest, whatever. It was like made no sense.
You had to
I drove you to Staten Island to show you.
You should be driving and know what it's about, but this is you have to drive. What does the Apple have to do with IWC?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was bad ad. So we've seen some shit from IWC on the messaging end, and then we've seen a lot of nothing from IWC on the message end, meaning literally just absence, like no messages. But which is a shame. The only reason I care is because I love IWC and they do a great job. Their watches are actually great. I recommend them constantly. I love their Fliegers. I love their perpetual, particularly their Mojave perpetual lately.
IWC
sick.
There's one of the most famous watchmakers of all time, and notable as in the sense of like notability.
Yep.
Or am I saying the right word?
Well, you just used the same word twice, but
notable. But I mean not notable as in just like something to notice. I mean in the actual definition.
Oh yeah, it's a notable brand.
Yeah,
it's worthy of note for sure in history.
Exactly.
So I love the brand. We haven't worked with them. We should. Whatever. It's funny if this was 2 years ago, I would have been like, guys, if you want to work together, I'd like to, but I'm not going to chase you.
Yeah.
Anyway, great strong message, right?
Yep.
We are functional. We produce machines, and clients want to hear that for sure.
And specifically, we are not Maître d'art.
We're not right.
Patrons. I'm not quite sure the translation.
Yeah, whatever.
But we are not this, which is interesting when they do also do that, and they have the the Little Prince specifically.
Yep.
But they have tourbillons, things like that, which are to me straying from functional watchmaking.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And you might remember the movie, I forget the title, but there's a very famous sequence where they're going around, like this camera's floating around, and everybody's kind of saying what they do, but what they really do. I'm an accountant, but really, I'm a writer.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I drive a truck, but really, like, I'm a poet. And it's all these people saying, I'm this, but I'm really this.
Right.
And the whole joke of it is, it gets to the last guy, and he says, I'm a police officer. And that's it.
Wow, that's
and
good.
That shows the character.
That's good.
This is what I feel like they're functionally doing. They're not being the police officer, but they want to be the police officer. They're saying like, well, this is what we do, but also we also do this.
Right.
Which I thought was really interesting because you can't really say that unless you're actually doing it or you are now going to do it.
Right. Again, it's getting a little abstract, but you're right. I'm following your logic train and make perfect sense. I do like some of their complications. I do think that exceptions are cool, like Perpetual.
Yeah.
I think that the IWC Big Pilot Perpetual is one of the coolest watches. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic value, pre-owned especially in precious metals. But again, even like the brand new, they're great value.
Yeah.
And for a whole lot of people, they are. They're the perfect perpetual, right? Because the size is amazing.
Yep.
I love the JLC perpetual. It's big. It's small and it's thin. It's formal. This watch is probably the perfect watch for a lot of guys that I know.
Yep.
A lot of guys.
Yep.
So really one of the best, I think. But because they're still elegant, like they're sporty in the size and they're modern, but they're still pretty elegant and refined.
Yeah,
they're great watches.
Oh, that's nothing against their watchmaking.
No.
It's just what they said, the way they said it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do like this idea, and if they were to devote a lot of time in messaging and rather a lot of time into messaging and continuation of development of new tool watches, I think that's great. I hope to see that from IWC. That would be just terrific.
Yes.
Too many brands want to have a identity, but really in many ways the structure of the brands and all the offerings of the brands are kind of the same.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of these brands they're all owned by the same people,
And
first of all. They're all very similar.
The tough part is all these brands want to have a separate identity, but all the customers don't really hit those separate identities. It's
Right.
not split up that much at the end of the day. It's like dress or sport.
Right.
Finding stuff in between, it's very, very difficult.
Yes.
You know?
So anyway, IWC has an identity. They do. I like this messaging. I hope they continue to do it.
Yep.
And I'm rooting for IWC.
Yes.
And I think that they will do well. Before I tell you exactly why I think that what Piaget just released is personally insulting and actually quite damaging to their brand, despite the watch, I bet, being fucking good. Before we get into that, let's talk about vintage watches for a second.
Yes.
Let's pull up the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
You got it,
a shop
boss.
that I have curated personally, completely. Okay, so let's take a look here. TheoandHarris.com/ I imagine vintage watches. All right, you tell them, pick out a watch, and then I'll tell you about it, and then I'll pick out a watch and you tell me.
Okay, done. Well, I don't want to do one that's super typical, but I do want to hear about this pair of Piagets, because we'll talk about Piaget.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a good point. So before we talk about Piaget, let's talk about Piaget.
Yes.
Piaget was historically a manufacturer of these like ultra elegant watches, and this was an era when ultra elegance was, I mean, like, you were the man. You were the man if you had a really, really, really thin gold watch. A lot of
really, really thin.
Yes.
Cannot overemphasize thin.
And not only really, really thin gold watch, but if your watch was mechanical as opposed to quartz, you really had money. You were the guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And anyway, these are two watches from that era. These are the Protocol. They're very closely related, as you can tell in design, to the original Polos. Not the Polo that we know now, but the original Polos. And I bought two in a lot from in yellow and in white gold. The yellow is so rich; it's 18 karat. The white is obviously beautiful as well. These are not watches that I bought because I knew I could make money on them, because I can't.
Right.
You know, these are watches that I bought because I absolutely adore them. It's an original design, an ultra thin movement from what is still today a premium brand that a lot of folks that just got into the hobby don't really know about. But the truth is, I mean, they are a pillar of watchmaking.
Oh, yeah.
Ultra thin watchmaking.
Still.
100%.
Yeah.
So this, talking about comps, this is something that you would opt for in lieu of, let's say, a Cartier tank. I happen to love the Protocol. I wear them all the time.
Yep.
That being said, for a lot of guys, probably look at this watch more for your wife as opposed to yourself, because they are smaller. But I have them in white, we have them in yellow, and they're fucking awesome.
Yes.
Super fine watches.
Yes, very much.
All right, now I'll throw one your way.
Toss it to me.
All right. Do the Cartier step case. I know we're staying in that world of dress watches at the moment. Cartier step case. Tell me why that's cool.
Hold on, let me pull it up a little bit. Well, the coolest thing right off the bat is that this is from an era where Cartier was still a little, like, kind of rebellious in a weird way. This is Vermeil, I believe, right?
Yep.
So this is that how you say it?
Vermeil? Yeah, Vermeil.
So this is sterling silver with gold plating on it, but a very, very thick gold plating. And then I also know that this actually has a very big significance to your dad.
Yes, my dad has the same exact, or basically the same exact watch in his personal collection. The reason he has it is because my mom wanted to get him a tank. My dad always wanted a Cartier.
Yes.
Like most of us, we understand the allure of that very, very famous, very, very rich, elegant brand.
Yeah.
And my dad always wanted one, could never really afford one. Then when he could afford one, my dad doesn't really buy watches for himself. He waits to get them as gifts. What a fucking guy.
What a guy.
What a guy. So my mom decided to give him one watch for Christmas. And the reason I chose this particular Cartier is because it's larger. It's oversized.
Yes.
So it's
by a long shot.
By a long shot. A tank. This is double the size of a Tank Louis.
This is a massive Cartier.
Yes.
Especially from the era, which is we've had the 70s.
So unreal. So I love small watches, but my dad is a little bit afraid to wear them.
Yep.
Feels like they're maybe too small.
Yep.
I don't, but this is a fantastic watch for anyone, especially people who want a Cartier but don't want a small Cartier.
And this is also this era, the 70s for Cartier, was perfect for people now. Because Cartier was experimenting with a lot of things at the time. Like this step case, and they weren't really focusing on their main crazy models. They weren't focusing on the Cintre, or they were, but not pushing them as much. Right. So what you have now is basically an unparalleled entry into Cartier.
Yep.
Some of their finest watchmaking, some of their most experimental watchmaking from the 70s, now at an approachable price.
Yep. I bet this will come back. I bet you they'll reintroduce this model at some point.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Beautiful, large size. I think it's a great piece. For really anyone, but especially people who want a larger Cartier. And something that, again, I love the Tank Louis. I love it. But I do see that for some people it's a bit sterile. It's very plain Jane. This is the opposite. This is funk. Last
thing I'll say is the Vermeil case. The coolest thing about it sterling silver with the gold on top. Patina's insane.
Insanely well.
I got it, not a step case like this specifically, but a Cartier with a vermeil case that is literally orange, or was orange, with like very deep purple on the side.
So cool.
And that's just because the sterling silver and gold really just like the sterling silver under is it's oxidizing, tarnishing. It's insane.
Super cool. One more watch, then we'll call it quits.
Yes, sir.
I just love vintage watches. Can you tell? You pull up a vintage watch, and I go
Should I
nuts.
give you a tough one? Ooh,
It doesn't
wanna talk
matter,
about
yeah.
this Breitling chronograph?
Yeah, one of the original premieres, basically. I mean, Breitling in the 1950s is. It's funny. Breitling today is pulling from their 1950s and 1960s collections.
Yeah.
Breitling of the last 15 years had nothing to do with those collections.
Yeah.
These are the roots of Breitling. Breitling, really had these two facets. Right, this 1950s, early 60s refined aesthetic. They continued into the 70s and into the 80s.
Yep.
But really, obviously, another side was this ultra, not more complicated because they're just chronographs, but obviously a lot busier with their Navitimer.
Yeah, we just talked about that today. It turned into this incredible maximalist design theory of like how much can we get on this watch?
Exactly.
How big?
And the Navitimer in and of its own right is an incredible watch. I love the Navitimer. But that other half of Breitling was this elegance. And it wasn't just the Premier, it was the top time as well. There were a lot of models that just were more refined. They were more elegant. And this Cartier, this Breitling is a perfect example. One more thing is that script, that font on the dial is unbelievable. That's a reason enough to love the watch.
This
I
watch,
love it.
In terms of size, too, is perfect. 36 millimeters.
Yeah, it's perfect
On
watch.
a chronograph,
Yeah.
everything proportionally on the dial looks like that's the size it's meant to be.
With the blue instrumentation around it's a gorgeous watch. I love this watch. And I don't wear a lot of chronographs, but that is a fantastic chronograph. All right. Let's get into this bullshit with Piaget because I'm pissed off.
Yep.
The next watch
The Aquanaut
is a watch without identity.
Sorry, I can see his little blur on my
So
screen.
embarrassing. It's just this is the Piaget Polo S. It's an Aquanaut. It's an Aquanaut.
The Piaget Polo Date is the latest iteration of the brand's emblematic sporty chic watch.
Okay, so you go.
You know what? You take it away.
Okay, so here's my problem.
Yeah.
First of all, the Piaget Polo, I never thought should have been made. I thought that period. I have no problem with a Piaget that is sporty. I have no problem with Piaget being divergent from their historical, elegance and richness. I have no problem with that. They can. The same way that Cartier, a manufacturer of dress watches, can have a sports watch. I think the drive is great and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think that Piaget should have one as well. I just don't think that the Polo was far enough from other things, the Aquanaut specifically, that it made it okay.
The Polo seems... Sorry for interrupting you, too.
No.
The Polo seems like... if we look at Gentry's drawings, you see the AP, you see the Royal Oak, then you see the Nautilus, and you see how kind of like that design element's there, but the Nautilus is rounding it. Then this looks like they took it a step further, and one past this would just be a regular traditional-looking steel sports watch.
Yeah, right. So the regular Polo was like a Nautilus, but now this went Aquanaut fully.
Yep.
And here's my problem, and I say this about a lot of people, and this is not a lot of brands. Belgian shoes is a good example.
Yes.
I wear these shoes. They're called Belgian shoes. They're like really comfortable slippers. I broke my toe a bunch of years ago. Belgian shoes are like one of the only pairs of shoes that like kind of don't hurt my toe, right? But I also happen to love the everything about them.
Yes.
Belgian shoes is the name of a company. They also designed this shoe, right? Whether you like it or not, it was an original design when they invented it.
Yes.
Okay. They called the shoe the Mr. Casual. So a Belgian shoes manufactured a Mr. Casual. Okay.
Yep.
Now brands in the last 5 years, well, maybe a little bit further, but I remember about 5 years, started manufacturing their own much lesser quality Belgian shoes.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
They didn't call them Mr. Casual. They called them Belgian shoes, though.
Interesting.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Super bad play.
Right.
Now, in the beginning when this was happening, it was being done by like fast fashion manufacturers, so no one really cared. Everyone was like, yeah, I'm not going to wear that. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to wear that. It's whatever. It's not cool. I'm not doing it.
Yep.
But then, I hate to call people out because, whatever, but it is true. But like one of the famous ones, Rubinacci. Rubinacci's an Italian tailor, manufacturer of beautiful suits, and they're legendary. They are, in and of their own right, arguably at the pinnacle of what they do. right?
Yeah.
And yet they, in my opinion, stooped pretty low when they not only stole someone's very specific design, but they actually stole the name as well. That to me is it's a really low character. That is something that should be done by fast fashion brands.
Yeah, right.
Shouldn't be done by an actual name. Even that's fucking embarrassing.
Even the fast fashion brand is like, yeah, it's in and out. We know, whatever.
Yep.
But
to add in, I mean, we can keep going, whatever. But okay, I'll end it there because we can keep going with it. But I'll end it there. Mm-hmm. But that's fucked up. Not only is it fucked up, and what I think is kind of immoral, I think it's also, in my opinion, bad for brand. Right? Because
of course.
if you as Rubinacci are the genius, why are you stealing from someone else? If you as Piaget are a genius, you are a luxury brand. You're original, you're quality, everything. You shouldn't be stealing from someone else. It's a bad look.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. You good with this?
I'm good, baby.
Oh, he's good. Okay.
That being said, so I wish I had a Aquanon. Yeah. Oh, and you know what the shame is here?
Yeah.
If they just tweaked it a little bit, if they changed the case design and did the whole sports watch, like refined sports watch on a rubber strap, it would have been awesome. Like they could have did it in green, they could have did it in colors, and it would have been cool.
A rubber strap is just the key.
Right, the integrated rubber strap. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't have looked like a Aquanaut so close. It's embarrassing.
Well, the name's different on it.
Yeah, right. And the hands.
Yeah, right. Okay, so before we get to the Kodo, which I will take the wheel and tell you all about, that is an insane watch. We'll get to that in a second, but first, we have to talk about short form.
Let's do it.
Yes, short form is the world's best guide to nonfiction books, as I said before. Basically, they're incredibly detailed on anything nonfiction, but the point is, if you don't have time to sit down and read an entire book, but you still want to distill all the knowledge from said book, this is the place to go.
Yep.
And short form's goal is to not only do it with books, but podcasts, videos, anything long form that has a lot of information that you want shrunk down so you can easily digest it. Short form is the place to go.
I do a lot of reading about things that don't pertain to my life at all nonfiction reading. And I think that the reason I do it is partly because the stuff interests me, in part, for sure, but also because I feel, and this isn't a controversial opinion, this is definitely true, that the more fact-based information that you take in and synthesize and look from someone who is wiser's perspective on a particular data set or circumstance, it makes you a smarter and more well-functioning human being.
Yeah.
Right? And it allows you to make decisions in your own life. Right? I run my business well in large part because I am constantly reading nonfiction from brilliant people. And short form 100% has delivered that opportunity. But it can be consumed quickly, relatively quickly, and that's fantastic. I think it's unbelievable company.
Yeah, they deal with productivity, health, relationships, history, and then just general society books.
Feed your brain, my man.
Feed your brain.
I'm always feed my brain. You feeding your brain a lot?
Dude, my brain is full.
Your brain is full.
It's farting and burping all day.
Your brain unbuttoned his belt the other day.
Yeah, so what's up, brother?
No, but for real, guys, I really recommend it. I can't speak highly enough about the company. I really think that you will be better for it if you sign up. At short form.
Yeah, so I was checking out short form, and Brene Brown is there, who my good friend Taylor is a huge fan of Brene Brown. She talks about her all the time, always wants me to read her stuff. She's self-help, therapy, all that stuff. So I was delighted to see that because it basically, I want to have that conversation with Taylor and talk about her favorite person because she does podcasts and videos and everything. But I don't have time to go into all of that stuff on my own time. So this is great. I've looked at the Gifts of Imperfection. Okay. Very cool stuff. And basically it goes over like confidence and like why you might be feeling certain ways or whatever it may be. Yep. And I could talk to Taylor like I read the full thing.
Well, how beautiful is that? I really think that's terrific.
Yeah, honestly.
I think that's amazing. So to get started today, go over to shortform.com/Theo and Harris for 20% off of your membership. And the first 5 days of unlimited access are absolutely free entirely. So again, I really can't recommend this enough. Sign up for Shortform and you'll be better for it.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into Grand Seiko.
The Kodo. How much do you know about the Kodo?
Quite a bit.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so we'll play off each other. This is the T01. This is the prototype that Grand Seiko introduced 2 years ago in 2020 and said this is a constant force tourbillon. Which, you know about this for a very specific reason. Very specific reason, but you know probably the inside and out of this
Yes.
a lot more, and you know a bunch of other secrets that I don't know. But this is what they teased 2 years ago, and this is insane for two reasons. Number one, it is Grand Seiko's first tourbillon, not Seiko's first tourbillon. But even more impressively, this is a constant force tourbillon, which is two different things. You have the constant force and you have the tourbillon. Constant force is really, I'm assuming that you're familiar with the tourbillon. If not, it is basically moving the escapement to counteract gravity. You should check out our film on Breguet. But a constant force is a smaller spring. And basically the main spring delivers power to that smaller spring. And what that does is that smaller spring can always kind of have high power. So when you have a regular mechanical watch on, as that spring loosens, your watch starts to go a little faster than it should because there's less power. But with this tiny little spring, it can always kind of be full power as long as the mainspring can keep it tight. Which is nuts,
Yeah.
yes. So you are even more accurate there and you don't have that fall off. So that combined with the tourbillon basically is the pinnacle of precise watch keeping.
Not only when this movement was introduced 2 years ago, was it incredible in function, but again, another whole aspect of watchmaking is the architecture of a movement. Right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
beautiful it actually is to look at. One of my big problems with watches that do take on quite a bit, right, in complication or just, or anything, is the architecture can often be bland. Right, it could be bland. It could be predictable.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Grand Seiko, what they did here, completely original and unlike basically anything that anyone had ever seen. This was an original caliber from top to bottom. I mean, like that is in and of itself remarkable.
Yep. And this being a skeleton watch, this is one of the most badass aggressive things I've seen.
100%.
Like obviously we've both seen plenty of skeleton watches, but this just looks so distant from Grand Seiko's like calm nature and so aggressive that it's all the more cool.
I think that the only other Torb that competed with this kind of industrial, like tough kind of like idea as far as design is AP's open work, the double balance. Also kind of went very similar. I actually like this better. I find that movement, while absolutely beautiful and absolutely original, I don't know. I feel like it is missing. I feel like I don't know.
This just has.
I didn't feel like it missed anything until I saw this. Let's put it that way.
This just has
now
that
I'm like,
unreal aggression look to it, and it's a deadbeat seconds.
Yep.
Even crazier, and the seconds hand is a ruby.
Yep. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then to go even a step further, obviously this is a $350,000 watch, very limited edition, so you wouldn't expect an expense to be spared, but the calfskin strap is treated with real Japanese urushi lacquer made of sap harvested from Japanese trees.
I never heard of that before.
Which is used to make, usually it's coating like miso bowls and chopsticks to keep them more water repellent.
Wow.
So this strap is water repellent.
Wow.
Not that
Very
it needs
cool.
to be with this watch, but that's some Grand Seiko charm
That's
right there.
amazing.
You know?
So the movement was introduced 2 years ago. I thought it was a year ago. Okay, 2 years ago.
2020.
And there you go. And everyone, it got press. People did talk about it, but a lot of people, I don't think they really understood I don't think they grasped how serious the movement was. And I also understand why. Because, generally people, I would imagine that the movement alone will not excite the vast majority of people. They'll say, wait, there's not a watch? No, there's not a watch yet.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
A cool
so
movement.
they can kind of like, okay, cool.
Right,
well, let me know when there's a watch.
Right.
I remember being very excited about it. I also just kind of remember, thinking that that we would only see this much later. I didn't think that this was going to be released now. Nor did I think that it was going to be as remarkable as the Kodo.
It's unreal. And what's funny is they began development in 2012, got it in 2020, implemented it fully in 2022.
Yep.
But what's funny is in 2020, like you said, they kind of were already sounding the sirens, being like, hey, we're taking this very seriously.
Yep.
We're on our way.
Yep.
And everyone was like, okay, sure.
Yep.
But this is, to me, the epitome of showing what Grand Seiko is after.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
And now, how did they integrate it 2 years later with the watch itself?
Yeah.
I mean, look what they did here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect. And,
that's the Ruby's deadbeat.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And there were some, obviously some edits. They took color out of it.
Yep.
They made it, basically monochrome with the exception of the ruby.
Yep.
They changed the hands, which I think was a good call. I mean, the hands are beautiful there, but and I think they needed it there. But on the watch itself, this was perfect. And the case again, like the movement, completely original in architecture, like nothing that they'd ever seen before. I can think of one watch that is similar to this case in that it's hollowed out and from a major brand. Can you?
No.
Kodo 1159.
Oh, okay.
And yet, the whole Grand Seiko, and I love the 1159. I really, really like it. I really do.
Yeah.
But when that watch was released, it was not perfect. When they introduced that case for the first time ever, I think the case is incredible. The watch itself, not perfect. Not even close for a lot of people. Great watch and getting better and better and better, but not perfect. This is the introduction of this case, and it's perfect. The watch is perfect.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say about this watch that is not complimentary. I can't think of a single thing on this watch you look at and you say, okay,
that's a little weird.
Nope. Right. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And one more thing I think you talk about is like very similar to like the whole Elon Musk thing with Tesla, right? Sure. Like how he started off with a sports car because he wanted to, get
everybody's attention and make it luxury.
Yeah, well, to make it clear from day one that electric cars could have a pair of balls.
Yeah, right.
From day one, because electric cars kind of, it was like the Larry David.
Car,
yeah, exactly.
Engine, yeah,
from
right.
day one, electric cars have balls.
Right.
And this is, Grand Seiko is functionally doing the same thing, right? Grand Seiko is saying, how about I put mine on the table and you put yours? And let's see whose is bigger.
And what's crazy
That's what they're saying.
What's crazy is that that doesn't seem like anybody really else even came to the table. Obviously, people are at the table, don't get me wrong. But it just seems like to that level, everyone was like, nah, I'm good.
The only other tour that was released this year, in my opinion, that I could even say came in second, would be JLC's Astronomic tour.
Yeah. Yep.
Great watch. Brilliant. About 2 miles behind this, or several miles behind this.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's an amazing watch. This is significantly better.
Also, this is just so far out of Grand Seiko's typical language that it's even more crazy.
But they brought elements that you see in their collection, even down at 5,000.
Oh, yeah. Well, what's fascinating is that they said the development of the T0 and then subsequently this watch, the Kodo, is the most informative thing was all the other movements basically improved because of the ingenuity that went into this.
Right.
I learned
I believe
so much from that.
Completely. Yeah, this is an unbelievable decision. I mean, it's very clear that Grand Seiko, it's very clear that the people that are running the development for Grand Seiko and people that are funding this stuff and the people that are behind it really believe that this company is going to continue to grow like it is. This company has a very, very bright future, far brighter than it is now, and right now they're doing incredibly well. People love Grand Seiko. I'm getting people that never heard of it before, people that aren't even into watches, that are saying, wow, that watch is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's it. Yeah, and again, I say the same thing every time about Grand Seiko. No one's working harder for your $10,000. No one's working harder for your $5,000.
Right.
No one.
Yeah.
They're that good.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, at $350,000, no one's working this hard. And put it in perspective, this and a lot of Nautilus are on the same level of price at this point.
Yeah,
which
right.
is a fucking joke.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I doubt you'll even be able to get one of these watches.
No, I think there's 60 made or something like that.
Yeah, I don't even think there's that many.
Wow, I would love to see one.
I thought there was like 20 or 30.
It might be 24. It's very
over a couple of years, over several years, because that's how long it's going to take to make.
34-day inspection process.
Amazing.
They're taking their time.
It's amazing. I love this. I'm so happy for them. Last but not least.
Hi, my name is Dylan. I am 15 years old, living in New York City, and I have been fascinated with watches since the 3rd grade.
So cool. So my mom runs our office. She runs all shipping and customer communication and stuff like that.
Yes.
And someone emailed her. This Dylan emailed her this email, and with all of his watches, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
Now my mom sent me the email, and as soon as my phone beeped with the email, I got a call from my mom. Look at your email. Look at your email. And I said, well, I'm busy. She goes, Open your phone, look at your email. Put me in the AirPods. I said, okay. Look at my email. I'm thinking like, I don't know. What the fuck could it be? I don't know.
Right.
She's like, read. And I'm like, all right, I'll call you back. She goes, no, I want to be on the phone. Read. Swear to God.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. I I go, oh, how cute. She goes, isn't this the cutest fucking thing you ever seen in your life? You got to talk to this kid. You got to put him on YouTube.
I'll just read you Dylan's collection. All of this stuff, there's a little backstory behind some of it, but I'll give you the brief notes. So first watch, Steel Sports watch, or Steel Swatch, very similar to yours.
Yep.
Second, 1960s Omega Seamaster DeVille. As he says, purchased with all of his money. And you know when you hit, like, he bought a watch in 7th grade, 2 watches before this. So I'm assuming he was very young. You know, as a kid, you just have a set amount of money. You're just like, I have $343.
100%.
All of his money he put on the table and got this watch.
There was one point I was really, really young. I think I had about $300.
It's always 300 something.
Yeah, it was $300, and I felt so attached to this $300 that I would carry it around with me wherever I went.
Really?
Yep. And I fucking lost it. I lost it. I remember sitting at my grandmother's table saying, we have to go back to that place.
I lost all of my money.
And I wouldn't tell her why. And she was like, why? Why do you have to go back? I think I dropped something. What could you possibly drop? But I knew if I told her I got my money,
$343.83.
Yep. Anyway, we didn't go back. So I lost that $300.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
So anyways, Omega Seamaster DeVille, he used all of his money for it.
Very, very sad.
1982 Rolex Air King.
Yep.
We have an Aura 65 he bought in the 7th grade.
Love it. It's amazing.
An 80s no date sub from his grandfather. These are all from his grandfather
So cool.
coming up.
Yep.
70s Timex, grandfather.
Yep.
1940s or 50s solid gold Juvenia, grandfather.
Juvenia.
Then 2021 Rolex Datejust 36
Amazing.
two-tone Roman
This
dial.
guy's nuts.
And then a 1960s Bomb at Mercier chronograph.
Love it.
Which it's a gorgeous
First
watch.
of all, great collection. I love the bracelet on the what's it called too.
Oh yeah, on the Juvenia.
Yeah,
gold bracelet too, I think.
Love it.
And that's
Love
from his
that.
grandfather, so that you can
the
see.
Datejust is amazing. I love two-tone Datejust.
Two-tone Datejust from 2021.
Love it.
Amazing. Oris, there's the pointer.
Love it.
Vintage pointer.
He's very lucky to have good taste.
Oh yeah.
Most people don't have good taste like this.
He's 15 years old.
It's amazing.
And then, here's what he said. As for pieces that I hope to add to my collection, there are a few. Firstly, I have been on a wait list for a GMT Master 2 with a Pepsi bezel and a Jubilee bracelet. And along with that, I've been on the hunt for a white Buckley day date 18038 in yellow gold, preferably from 78 to 80. I believe that the day date is absolutely one of the most elegant pieces ever made, and that I can only dream of having it in my lifetime.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, first of all, never talk like that. You're going to get the watch. If you want the watch, you're going to get the watch. There's no doubt about that.
Shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth. There's no doubt you're going to get it.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy. First of all, you're very. I don't know what. I guess my first question would be like, what even turned you onto watches at such a young age?
Yeah.
Because I was interested in watches.
But not
like that.
Not 7th grade. You bought an Aura 65.
No.
Right.
No, not even close.
Right.
And I think that I got a watch in high school. I think I got like a Michael Kors watch in high school. Yeah.
That could have ruined your career.
That could have ruined my career.
Thank God it didn't get leaked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So first of all, that's super cool that you got into it so young.
Yeah.
I'd also like to know, I mean, I assume that you were pretty supported with this. I don't even mean financially. I just mean like your parents didn't like laugh at you and tell you that it was stupid.
He said his parents like basically tried to open up everything, like to educate him and show him things and stuff like that.
I love that. If I'm ever lucky enough to be a dad one day, I think that's exactly what I would do. That's really, really cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
People don't get encouragement for good like hobbies.
Yeah.
And you'll probably have this for the rest of your life, this hobby. You'll have these watches, of course, but you'll also probably have the hobby.
Yeah. Even if it goes down a little bit, you'll still be able to snipe everyone's watch.
Absolutely. And then it'll come back. It's like your love. It's like a love with Rolex. Everyone says, well, you love Rolex, and then it goes, and then it goes down, and then it goes back up. I mean, this is a lifelong journey for you, and you started it so young. I think that it's incredible.
Yeah, I
really do. It's also not many, people in their, teens actually have anything truly interesting to say. And I'm sure you know quite a bit about the history of these watches, and that's really special. I think it's great, man.
Yeah,
I think you're a cool dude.
Pick someone up on a date, you're wearing a Rolex, the father of the person is like, what the hell's going on?
Who's this kid?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, are you looking at my Ferrari? And he's like, how did you get a Ferrari, by the way, Dylan? No, I'm just kidding.
Imagine just like pulling up, because I had this even in college, like if I could identify like this girl I was seeing, her brother's watch. It was a Milgauss, and he like freaked out that I knew it. And I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm actually on the wait list for GMT Master.
That is so
you know what I mean?
Funny. Yeah,
but like being that at 15, and even prior to that, that's cool. You gotta think.
A girl I went to high school with had a Hulk, but I mean like wore it all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Wore it all. It's super cool. And now it's like a $30,000. At the time, it was like a $9,000 watch.
Yeah.
Like it was right at retail, maybe 10 or 11 max.
Wow.
And now it's at 30. I wonder if she still wears it. We never really spoke.
You should call her.
I shouldn't call her.
That watch is
She
worth
probably doesn't
nothing.
know who I am. She probably doesn't remember me.
Anyways, bye.
Great job, Dylan. You did a great job,
Yeah,
bud.
Dylan, fantastic
I love it.
job.
I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
All right, head on over to the Theo and Harris Watch Shop. And if you're not in the market for a watch right now, head over to the Strap Shop because your watches could always use new straps. And we have a hell of a collection from Italy, from America, and from France. Handmade, about 2 hours, 3 hours outside of Paris. Spent a beautiful time there. It's gorgeous. It's unbelievable quality. Head on over, get some straps. Otherwise, I'll have to sell something.
You have to sell me.
I'm gonna have to sell Michael.
That's his first asset.
Speaking of which, if anyone wants to buy some time with Michael. All right, get out of here. Goodbye.
Bye.